Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? Another week, another edition of the show. I have Myke and Alex from the awesome band Massive Nightmares, who recently dropped their self-titled EP. I highly suggest you check it out. That's why we have them here this week, because we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about their life and music, and we're going to be finding out a lot about each other, why we may like each other or may not like each other. But either way, we're going to get down to some really good fucking music. But welcome to the show, guys.
Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having us.
It's an absolute pleasure. So who's the better talker in telling the story about how Massive Nightmares became a thing? I know you guys were in another awesome band, Great Lakes USA, and now we're on to Massive Nightmares. So, like, who wants to tell the story of how this came through?
I'll tell the first part. So, many moons ago, I was I was in a relationship, and this person was a good friend afterwards, but we were also playing in a band at the time. And so this is I want to say 2009. And I was told that a friend of a friend who was looking to start a band influenced by Hot Water Music, The Loved Ones. And so that's how I joined Great Lakes. And so for the next 10 plus years, Al and I did Great Lakes and had a blast. And then our buddy Pete moved to Washington, D.C. So bass player from Great Lakes. And then we were kind of still getting together periodically, writing music. And let Al take it from there.
Yeah, this is the hardest part of the story. No. So we Doyle and I kind of haven't stopped playing tunes together for, I mean, what it's 15 years at this point. 15 years, yeah. I mean, it really outside of the pandemic. I mean, we got together once a week and practiced and wrote and did all this stuff. So, once Great Lakes kind of fell apart a bit and Pete moved and it got harder to kind of do that, we were just kind of scrambling to figure out sort of what our next project was going to be without even saying the words like next project or whatever. It was kind of just we really
very much just like wanted to make things. And I think what ended up happening was we were like, oh, this is fun. Like we've always gotten together to play music, but it was an opportunity to try something a little bit different. And then a buddy of mine, Pat, we also grew up together, have been friends for 20-ish, 25 years plus. He plays bass, he plays guitar, he's a great musician in his own, and he also wanted to awesome songwriter. And also one of my closest friends, so it felt like really easy to just say, hey, want to get together. And so we practiced, we jammed with a few people, we tried a few things out, and ended up being like the three of us at a certain point last year. And we started to play shows. We kind of we're like, all right, let's do this. We wanted to record eventually, but we had, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 songs. So we were playing a few shows, and Tom Cheslick from Save Ends and a bunch of other bands, No Trigger, he is also a really close friend of ours, and he was like, oh yeah, I'd love to play with you guys sometime. So we asked him to join the band. He played bass. Pat moved over to guitar, and as they say, the rest is history.
That was it.
That's it. There's a ton more awesome, embarrassing shit in there that I'm sure we'll figure out. But
so much. That's the cleanest version of our history together.
Well, hey, that's great. I don't have to hit the explicit button when I post, but no.
I can't. No, you can just get into it. Just ask us the weird stuff, and we'll tell you.
Get your finger ready on that button.
Yeah. Mark for edit now. You had mentioned, Myke, that a departure from like what you were doing and trying something different.
Yeah.
And that's, a question that I'd like to dive into a little bit. I mean, if anybody knows about Great Lakes, it's kind of, I guess I hate fucking genre living, but hardcore, post-hardcore. To currently where I would categorize Massive Nightmares as more of a melodic, maybe emo-ish with a power pop tinge to it type of vibe. So what kind of led to, I mean, besides maturity, what kind of led to the change in direction of music you're creating?
Great question. So one of the big reasons that change happened was forever Al just screamed really well, and that was a thing that he was kind of known for, I guess. I don't know. I think it was just a comfortable way for you to write songs and sing. But but I think we also realized that over time in recording, you do clean vocals, that you have a great clean voice as well. So that was one element. We were fucking around with writing songs where you sang, and Pat brings like a really good he has like a really good indie background, and so he wrote a bunch of songs that were a little bit different and brought a different vibe. And I don't know, for me, like that made a huge difference as Al as loudly as possible unwraps like a Werther's original. But I think that was a big part of it, and I think definitely maturity played a part. I think playing to some of our old strengths and then kind of diving into what else could we do and how else could we write songs, I think was a part of it.
How did you feel about that, Al, moving away from the screaming and doing a more drawn in vocal sound to what you were creating previously?
It kind of felt a little more natural. It really came from, I mean, I just screamed because when we had band practice, the PAs everywhere that we were, you couldn't hear vocals because we played so loud. So I just yelled over everything. So I didn't know that I could do anything else but that. for a very long time. And so I got like home recording equipment and stuff, and just started kind of practicing, recording vocals at my house, and realized like, oh, I don't have to scream over everything, and it can sit in like the mix really nicely, and I can play around a little better.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, honestly, and that's really kind of where that came. I mean, Myke's been pushing me to do that for as long as we've been in a band together. And so this band, certainly it makes more sense having kind of a cleaner vocal anyways to work with Pat. And working with Pat and having cleaner vocals, we have so much fun doing like multi-part harmonies on stuff, and we do a lot live. Like we work in the practice space and at the studio quite a bit on working on our vocals and trying to like play in a different realm that you can't. There's not a lot of harmonies, and there's not a lot of vocal fun when you're just screaming. So this band sort of lets us explore that a little more.
Where would you say you're more comfortable vocally?
Now much probably clean. I can do. I have like I'm just really loud normally as a regular person, and so I just talk very loud, and so I can scream all day long. And when we went out, Great Lakes went on tour in Europe, or first time, like when we first met the guys we were going out with. They all just thought I was going to blow my voice within 2 days, because Great Lakes was so screamy, and that's like, and for a lot of people, that's tough. That's like a difficult thing.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not really at all, but it's more, I have a lot more fun now playing with the range, because I still do, there's still some screaming a little bit on the Master Nightmare stuff, and live, of course, like that happens a little bit more.
Yeah, but it's honed in screaming,
It's certainly better than it was. Yeah. And I think that's also
intentional.
Yeah, you're like on the boundary. Like, you literally get to that point where you shouldn't go anymore.
Yeah. And it's also like a 10-year difference than the last time we recorded the Great Lakes
for sure.
So it's been a long time. So
like literally right before. So fun fact, like right before the pandemic started, we had recorded like a 5 or 6 song EP that we were just waiting to finish up, like vocals and guitars. And then Al went on his honeymoon to New Zealand. And while he was there, like everything shut down. And so basically for the next, year and a half, we didn't do anything. And Al wrote a bunch of songs in his office. And so the next time we regrouped was like, okay, well, we're going to probably not pick that stuff back up again, just because we've kind of already evolved away from it. And I think with Massive Nightmares, we're also, I think playing fast can be really fun, but also I think we're enjoying playing at a tempo that gives us more freedom to kind of, I don't know, build a different type of song. Yeah.
We aged with it.
So based on, the music you're currently creating, and again, like it's hard to find that pocket, because there's so many different things going on in it that can be labeled so many different things. Like, where do you think the band Massive Nightmares, the way it sounds, would fall into like an algorithm playlist? Like, where do you think, what would be the biggest genre? Because I don't want to, really label you, but what would you kind of label yourself where you think it would fall in?
I mean,
I don't know. Doyle, what do you think?
So somebody made a comment. Somebody might have like done a quick review, or there've been a couple reviews, 1 or 2 a little bit longer, but somebody called out the Lemonheads, and I think that's a really interesting example, because I think that's one of Pat's favorite bands, and I think subconsciously or unconsciously, it kind of, that vibe made its way into some of the songs. And I think there's still some pop punk or emo or indie punk stuff that you can tell, like, so, the Loved Ones, I think Al, for whatever reason, like that was just a band that you probably listened to like 10 times more than any other band while learning how to play guitar. And so I think that shows up a lot in some of your playing. But I think the more, I think there's an element of that. There's like a little bit of like, I think a lot of bands sound like the Menzingers. That's not a bad thing at all. They're a fantastic band. But, I think every now and then there's still some, more org-core stuff, like,
I think we always
a little bit here and there.
Chord or what, but I think the Angus soundtrack, if that was a playlist, that would be.
Yeah.
That's
love that soundtrack. Literally just got it on vinyl.
I think
finally,
that's.
Oh, really?
If that were a genre,
yeah,
if that was a genre of music, that's my favorite genre of music is that soundtrack.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think people often forget about that movie and how amazing that soundtrack is.
Yeah,
dude, it's I mean for our group of friends, it's like it's totemic. It's like a foundational record for like every one of our buds. Like it's incredible. Everything about it's so good.
Yeah.
You literally just made me get up and go grab it out of my records and like to run down,
it's, like dude,
Ash on here, Ash, Green Day, Smoking Popes, Goo Goo Dolls, Muffs. Tilt is one of my favorite female-led punk bands of all time. Like
incredible Goo Goo Dolls song. It's great. It's that like it's that like era of, but it's kind of that sound I think Master Nightmare sort of sits in and of all of that, where it's a little poppy, a little bit of like when punk rock was still a little bit in those bands before they all got like a little too cleaner sounding. But like it's a little bit of that. But you know what I mean? Like
Google Dolls being the biggest one of them.
Dude, that's one of my all-time favorite bands is the Goo Goo Dolls, and like those first couple of records
Hold Me Up, Jed.
Dude,
they're
Hold
fucking
Me Up,
punk
Jed,
rock.
Superstar Car Wash. Like they're punk rock. They're riffing punk rock records. Like really, like insane.
Superstar is one of my Desert Island albums. Like, dude, Superstar Car Wash is amazing.
We first recorded as Great Lakes. One of the first things we did was we listened to some of the early Goo Goo Dolls stuff, and we're like, we really want to like. We were talking to the dude who was recording with us, and we're like, yeah, this is like the vibe we were going for, and I think it's just very funny because we've also fucked around with some Goo Goo Dolls covers as well, which is like very different from their early stuff, but it was we're definitely heavily influenced, at least from Al.
I played a game recently in my record store where I said I put on Jed and I let it play, and I told everybody, you're not allowed to pull your phones out, but if anybody can tell me who this band is right now, you get a $15 record of your choice.
Holy shit!
No one knew it.
And that's got a lot of the bass player singing too. So it's like his voice is so gnarly and weird. I love it.
Yeah. I think it's so the only two people I know that would get that would be Al and Pat. Because Pat is very deep into the Angus soundtrack. So me and Pat, the first bands we ever did were him and I just in his basement, and we would play, old Green Day stuff and old Rancid stuff. He'd play bass and I would play drums. So it is kind of awesome that we're getting to do all the stuff that we did when we were like 15 with spiked up hair, riding BMX bikes in the suburbs. And funny enough, I think Pansy Division just played. So we're friends with Ryan Agate, who does a ton of shows, or has historically done a million awesome punk shows in the Boston area. And he just had Pansy Division play the brewery that he books at. So that was also kind of awesome because I did not go. I was babysitting his kids, but he could not have been more excited. He could not have been more excited. And so I was more than happy to make sure he was able to go.
That's awesome. Now, talking about like we just started going back and being kids, I'm going to start with you, Al. When did you grow up in a musical household first off? And like, what was the music that kind of made you the first time you heard something like stand up, like your first musical memory that you remember being like wanting to know more about it?
Oh yeah. I grew up in a really musical house. So my dad is a really great piano player. He was a really great organ player. He plays like the B3 Hammond and all that stuff. He was in bands from when he was like 13. He grew up in like the Boston area, and he was about 13 years old playing in clubs in Boston when he was growing up, and all the way until like basically he had my oldest sister, and then he kind of stopped playing. But so music was super prevalent in learning music and instruments, and there's pianos all over the house and stuff. So all of that was very prevalent, like the idea of playing music and songwriting and just kind of having it all around you. But I definitely like hooked in very early on. Like Elvis was a very big Big deal for me. That was like my big first thing I ever heard, and was like, yeah, hell yeah, this is like, I as a child was like, this might be a personality for me, and like no one else has ever had this type of. But when I was like 7,
Yeah.
Can't wait till you come to my store one day and see how big Elvis is in my life.
Dude, yeah, it's like, it's the biggest thing in the world. But as a kid, it was a real, like, it was that kind of stuff. It was the rock and roll aspect of all of it. It was just led into everything else. But like my dad's a huge like, he's all into jazz and Motown and soul and blues and like he's kind of all over the place. So I've got a lot of
your dad, like I remember like you saying like your dad when he was like a teenager, like 17, he would learn like 100 plus cover songs, and he would just play like school dances with
it's
the
crazy.
Family.
It's so different,
so impressive.
Well, I tell him about like our playing band stuff, playing show stuff, where I'm like, yeah, we play like for 45 minutes and that's it. We don't really get paid. And like, and it's all just originals. And he's like, they used to, like a new song would come out on the radio, and like they would have to sit there and learn the song that day so they could play it that night at like whatever, because they would play like Great Scott or the Rat or so. Like they would play like all the venues around town, and they had to like learn all these tunes. So he's got a million stories. But yeah, man, it's music is such a insanely important part of my childhood.
That's awesome. Myke, do you remember the question or
I remember the question.
Okay.
So
now you
I was not, so my family was not especially musical, but my parents were fairly young. So like, it's funny to think I'm 40, and when I was, when my dad was my age, I was 15. So but my dad my dad was like 25 when I was born, so he was like still youngish, and we would he would buy tapes and we would listen to tapes. So the earliest bands that I remember rocking out to were REM and Tom Petty, and we would just play those records on repeat. And he had a pretty big record collection that disappeared somehow. But we music was something I loved but didn't. So that's ultimately why I ended up playing the drums, was because I wanted to be very much part of it, but I did not have at that time the help or support to like wrap my head around like, how could I play guitar, or like how could I play this? So I felt like, all right, well, drums is just hitting something. So I'm sure I can figure that out. 20 years, 25 years later, I'm still figuring it out. But
yeah, you're getting there.
You're still just hitting things.
Yeah, I'm just hitting stuff. But it was that like desire to like it felt like it would be so fun to be part of a group, and like we'd have school dances and we'd see bands play, and like I don't know, that to me was like, oh yeah, this would be fantastic. I would love this so much. And that's why myself and Pat, so the same summer that I got a drum set, he got a bass. We played. I remember we like played a coffee house, and like we were like in 8th grade or 7th grade or something.
What did you name that band?
So we didn't actually end up naming this band because it was just Pat and me, and there was no vocals, and we were widely panned. Like everyone was like, you guys are the shittiest band.
You had to have thought of a name at some point, though.
Yeah, you did have a name.
Yeah, So I mean, one of the biggest things when you get an instrument and find someone else with an instrument, for the most time you spend is coming up with a logo and coming up with a name.
So there's a picture that I have somewhere, and me and Pat were playing, and we were. So this might be the closest to it, but we were calling ourselves the Punk Rock Ninjas, because
that's
100% your band name. So
yeah, that was 1,000. Like, don't sit here and try to be like, we never thought about.
I tell you what, my high school band name all the time.
Yes, well, this was so limited that like I'm not even sure we referred to our band as it. We just referred to ourselves as it. So we would run around with our like black sweatshirts, and we like insensitively wrote what we thought were Chinese letters and duct tape on these black sweatshirts, and like rode bikes, and like just thought we're badass.
I've never heard this story. This is the funniest story in the world.
Yeah, I'll show you the picture.
Yeah, I didn't know there was pictures of this. I didn't know this existed. This is a good new deep Doyle.
But so I'm gonna extend this a tiny bit. So the first real band that Pat and I played in was called, oh crap, I'm forgetting it. But it was like it was the most, I'll remember it. I will remember it. But we were playing together, and we like, basically it was like before Craigslist, but somehow we were able to connect with people. It might be like early AOL days, connect with like some people that were in the town over from us. And this became our first band. So Michelle Freeball, I don't know if you've ever heard of the band Red Yellow. They were like a pretty big hardcore rock band in the Boston area for many, many years. So me and him played in that band. And then eventually I started to play in this hardcore straight edge band called Up in Arms. So this was a hardcore straight edge band that had 2 dedicated singers. It was awesome. And there's actually a video our friend posted of the entire recording session on YouTube. So we'll post that.
Sick!
We'll
really?
That in the comments. Yeah. So
it's like Get Back, in the background for you guys.
Yeah. So it was exactly it. The sound in the actual video doesn't line up at all, but you can see Pat in the back. Pat was filming the entire thing, and so as soon as the bass player at the time screwed up and like said fuck off to like the sing, like he called the singers like parents pussies or something because we couldn't play Reflections and open up for some youth crew hardcore band at the time, that he was kicked out of the band. So we immediately like asked Pat to join. We're all still friends to this day, which is nice because Mike's a great guy. But that I consider that to be like my first real band that we played shows. We opened for like
Up in Arms.
This is Up in Arms. Yeah. We opened for like bands like Kicked in the Head and Big D and the Kids Table were, playing shows at the time. And that was like the big band that we played with at some point. The Goonies were another Boston punk rock band, but this was like 1999. So it's funny because when I think back, all of this happened over like a long period, like years, but it happened over like 10 months. So that happened. We were still sophomores in high school. We recorded some random record somewhere, but yeah, that was my first band, and it was a blast.
Well, how about you, Al?
My first band. Well, okay, my very first band that I started the day I got a guitar was called Too Tall for the Ceiling. We practiced in my friend Nick Stein's basement. We played cover songs, but my actual first band, my high school first band was this band I joined that was basically the first iteration of Great Lakes. That's how long we've like kind of extended this through. I was 14 and I met Ken and Pete, who went to my high school. They were older kids, and we were in a band called Kung Fu Master. And then it became a band called McLean. And then, Kung Fu Master was great. There was no S in it. It was a $sign. It was just as good as you can imagine. Yeah. I mean, what do you want? This is a punk rock band. Now that's a punk rock thing to do. So we, and so that kind of like formed off into a bunch of other things, but that was, effectively the two, Pete and Ken, who both started Great Lakes with me and Mike. And then Ken kind of went off and tattooed and stuff, and Pete stuck around, but those dudes lasted throughout, and then basically Pete moved away and me and Mike just got stuck with each other. But I guess I don't join that many bands, I guess. Or I try to just keep the same one going.
I think that this is like kind of a theme for us, which is where I think other people we know may have started bands of people that were complete strangers. Like almost every band, like the last band I joined with people I didn't know that well was Great Lakes, and like everyone that Ken, Pete now became some of my closest friends to this day. So but before that it was just and to this day, like we're a very incestuous friend group, because while there might be people who play some instrument better outside of our band, who wants to be in a band with somebody that's not your friend already? Like, I think that's probably very short-sighted, but like if you're going to spend hours with people and have the objective is to have as much fun as possible, like and make music that you love, it's like, why not do it with your friends who are also really good musicians instead of looking for strangers?
Well, you have to kind of be able to tolerate people, so it's easier when they're friends. It's easier to make up when you tell someone to fuck off for a minute. So,
yeah, for sure. And I mean, I feel like we one of the nice things is that we've had very little drama in all of the bands we've been in. Like literally, like the most drama we've had was Pete would get really frustrated about parking and like really take it out on Al sometimes.
Yeah, he would get real mad.
Pete's like the sweetest human being, and he would literally like no one has anything bad to say about him because he's the nicest guy. But like when he was pissed, man, Al was his punching bag.
I was number one.
It was fun. Yeah.
But that's what you get
it's been nice.
For playing with your friends, and you can get mad at them and like that. He got mad at me, and I was still in a band with him for 15 years. So it just it's easy. It's easy when you're all buds.
Yeah, I remember one of the first shows Great Lakes played when my now wife came to the show. So it was probably her first show seeing us. I think it was the Middle East, and we started a song, and I started it like I clicked in wrong or something. And Al just said, "All right, everyone, sorry, this is Myke Doyle's last show." And for like the next day, like my wife, Mia, she doesn't know Al at this point. And it's like, why are you in the band with this guy? He's such an asshole. And I'm like, yeah, you'll eventually like Al, but yeah, I can understand why you would think he's an asshole.
And one of these days she's gonna.
One of these days.
I think we all have a friend like that. I have a friend too that my wife, kid's been my like oldest friend, and she meets him the first time. She's like, "Who is that guy?" He's like, "Biggest fucking dick in the world." Like, I can't believe that. And I'm like, "Oh, that's my best friend." Oh, I was about to introduce you, but no, now she loves him. 20 years later.
That was notoriously me for a long time. So
yeah, it was really weird.
I was a difficult friend for everyone to meet.
Yeah, our friend group is so tight, and it goes back like so many people from Medway, Massachusetts. But Al was a new person in the mix, and like is also somebody who has absolutely no problem just like walking into a party full of people he doesn't know, and just saying something that might be offensive or like breaking a joke that makes everybody in the room laugh. So there's a combination of like, who is this guy? He's really hilarious, but I want to punch him in the face. But I will say that subsided shortly after as people got to know Al, because he was incredibly funny, and we have a great time. And our band is still together in some way, shape, or form. So that's a must say something.
Al, what was the first band that you kind of attached yourself to and kind of felt like you found it and wanted to rush out and start showing other people?
Lifetime is probably the first band I remember.
Jersey's best dancers.
Yeah, I mean, really,
we are
so good.
Lifetime. It was honestly like I remember they were like kind of a band that they broke up. They broke up at far enough away that like by the time it was like 2004, 2005 when I first like heard them, and they broke up in 97, 98 or something.
98.
So it was like enough distance between that like new bands started coming out sounding like Saves the Day or whatever. You'd hear like bands sound sort of like it, and then I finally like heard what Lifetime sounded like, and I heard all the copycats, and I heard this band, and I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, this is the coolest band I've ever heard. This is the best way a band should ever sound. Like, I loved Ari's vocals, and like, like Dan Eamon's like one of the greatest of all time. Like I've followed his entire career forever. Like it was a true band that I was just like, this is something very special and very cool. And their lyrics were very cool. They were like, I remember first hearing them and thinking it was kind of heavy, being like, wow, this is kind of like a heavy hardcore band. And now I'm like, what a poppy sounding band. But they were heavy for my ears at the time,
Well, they were heavy for their time too. I mean, that was back in the day when Jade Tree, like before Promise Ring kicked off. I mean, they had a lot of like harder bands, like Lifetime, State of the Nation was one of them.
I mean, They always
There was a
did, like
bunch of hard
mile
bands.
marker and stuff. And
Yeah.
Jade Tree was real. I mean, Jade Tree from Lifetime, like expanding on off of that, it's like Jade Tree was part of that thing where it was like a secret when you found out about it. I mean, especially where I was from, it
felt like all of the cool people you knew liked bands that were on Jade Tree.
And then when you found out about all of them, like you're like, holy shit, look at this collection of amazing bands I've never, like this crazy thing I got to show everybody. And everyone's like, we don't really care that much.
Yeah.
For me,
I always thought like Jade Tree to me was like, it was like Discord adjacent, because it was it seemed like a lot of style bands that Ian MacKaye would have had, but it was also 100%. Like he wasn't willing to maybe spend the money to promote those ones, so he just stuck to his friends' bands. But I was like Jade Tree was just like the late 90s, early 2000s Discord.
Yeah, very cool, very weird.
Like the Explosion was another band that I remember seeing. I remember seeing the Explosion in Boston. And like I remember them being like one of those bands where I was like, this band's either like the best band or the worst band. But the very first
impossible
band
to tell.
Well, like they were sloppy.
Sometimes
and they were like
rule. Yeah.
But I remember listening to the record and being like, all right, and then seeing them live, it was like, how are they both things? How are they both like seemingly incapable of doing music, but also rocking the fucking skin off my face? But the first band that I remember seeing that I was like, I have to tell everybody, was Against Me. So I had a friend who lived like the town over, and she was like, this band that I really like that sounds like Dropkick Murphys, you might like them. And this was probably 2000, let's say. And I remember going to a show in Providence and seeing Against Me playing a warehouse and like losing my mind, and then getting that first record, and like I shared it with everyone I know. And before like within weeks, everyone was, back then it was like, okay, well, I don't know if it was pre Napster or whatever, but it was like the song that everyone, a band that everyone I knew was listening to. And I think also tribute to them for being a band that like they were incredible. They are an incredible band. So people were finding them, but it was awesome to be able to like think back and like, oh yeah, like I remember like making or buying like a record from them at this like warehouse, and then playing it in my car, and my friend being like incredibly impressed and wanting me to burn a copy for him. It's
awesome. What was your very first concert that you did see? And you don't have to like remove any, like if it wasn't cool. I totally want that first concert to not be cool, because usually you get taken to by your parents. So like, listen, my first two concerts I was brought to by my parents. Then I got to pick the third one, and it's way out of left field as opposed to what my first two were.
So my very first concert, and I don't have a memory of a concert before this that was like a band that we paid money to see. So I'm calling this my first concert, but me and Pat went to go see Blink-182 play at the Songus Auditorium in Boston, or in Lynn or Lowell. So we went and saw Blink-182, and I think Phoenix DX opened. And I remember,
what year was this?
It was, so I wasn't old enough to drive. So this would have had to been 2000. It probably also would have been 2000. So like later that year, like it feels like an eternity, but like maybe 11 months from then, I saw Against Me, around the time they put out Reinventing Axl Rose or something, but, or it was the EP before Reinventing Axl Rose, but, that show was awesome. I remember just being on the floor and watching Blink-182, surrounded by people that also loved Blink-182. And I think coming from like a town where, there was like 6 punk kids or 6 kids that liked bands like Blink-182 or Rancid or NoFX. And we were all friends, and then going to a place where there was like 1,000, it like kind of blew my mind. And I got so excited, and I was like, this is before I drank, but I remember just being like literally in the middle of this giant group of people trying to touch the stage or whatever. And like, just needing to throw up. So I remember being like, I'm having so much fun, but like it was like the equivalent of like working out too hard. So maybe I was just in terrible shape, but I just remember like taking a step back and barfing on the floor, and some girl like walked over and started rubbing my back. And I remember like to this day being like, I wish I had like known how to talk to her afterwards. She probably would have been nice, but I don't think I ever had a word with her. She looked so sad for me. But yeah, that was my favorite. That was my first show.
How about you, Al?
Yeah, I don't know. So like I was saying, my family, like I went to concerts. I mean, from as early as I can remember. Like but it was a lot of like, I would go see like Little Richard or whatever version of the Beach Boys exists, like stuff my dad would, or like the Fabulous Thunderbirds or whatever, like kind of things my dad liked to go see. So it was like a lot of bands like that, like a lot of things in that realm. And then like my first chosen concert was probably like a Warped Tour, I imagine. Like, I think that was the first thing that I ever got to choose, like where I wanted to go and like what I wanted to see, and know that I was like very different than what my family listened to. And I got to like say like, I want to go see this. And everyone was like, I do not. So I got to go with friends.
Yeah. I was also like weirdly like on the younger side of all the people, because not that we're like that different in age, but I feel like
not now.
Yeah. Well, like I'm 40 and you're 37. So like, but like you're 36, I'm not sure. But yeah, I just remember like randomly because you were like a friend of a friend, we'd be at a party when I was in college, and I'd be like, oh, who's that guy? And sometimes I might say the bald guy, because like Al doesn't have any hair. But that was like my way of being like, he's super familiar. I know him. I've seen him before. And they're like, oh, that's Al. I'm like, does he go to school here? He's like, oh no, he's like a sophomore in high school. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And so, but at the time, I think you were like in high school playing with the people who eventually went on to do, like, it was it was this band called Sluts. So they eventually became Defeater. But I don't think you were definitely still in high school when you were playing with them, or were you like a year out of high school?
I think I graduated. I think maybe I was probably maybe a year out of high school. Maybe in my senior year of high school. Yeah, we were playing in Sluts, which is a cool name for a band that we all came up with and thought was very cool.
Yeah. It was a very cool band name for 2004.
Here's my thing. I get to say I was in high school, and everyone else in that band had like mortgages and stuff. No, they were all older. I blame all of them for that decision. But they went on. Defeater's a much better name.
Yeah,
I think.
Yes,
and
it is a much better name.
And then they re-released that record under that name, so that was good. That we still got that out.
Awesome. All right. In your life right now, I'll start with Myke. Is there a band that never lets you down, that you constantly turn to listen to? Rolling Stone calls it your favorite band. I don't like that term. I like, what band do you always turn to when you need to listen to music?
Okay. So I was toying with just saying no. There's no band that does that for me, but that's not true.
Not into it.
I don't like music very much.
I'm not into the listening of it. No.
I like playing it. Listening to it's not fun.
Yuck.
I would say so right now, and for the past few years, it's been the Hold Steady. So it's funny because they're like kind of like a punk adjacent band. Like they do, like, for example, they'll play like the Minneapolis State Fair or something, and they'll have D4 play or something. So like they're it's an interesting band, but I don't know, for whatever reason, that band is always a band I can listen to and connect with.
All right. Yeah. That is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because I my thing is like, I use them as a describing factor, and listen, it might not go over well with you, but
all right.
One of the bands that I've loved in the past 10 years is Spanish Love Songs, And like when people are like, well, what
awesome band,
yeah, I go, what people like, what do they sound like? I go, if the Hold Steady was a good band, that's what they would sound.
Oh wow, yeah. So it was nice talking to you. I'm gonna know. No, so fun fact, Massive Nightmares. We were like, we need a name, and we were like, fuck it. Me and Pat were like, because we were like kind of fucking around. We had a name that we didn't really love, and then we were kind of, I think this was like like a year ago. Yeah, like a year ago, almost exactly. We're like, oh, what do we want to name our band? And I don't know. We were just like scrolling on our phones on the way back from like Montreal, and we're like, what about, instead of like Massive Nights is a big Hold Steady song.
Yep.
Like Massive Nightmares. I don't know, that. And then I was like, well, I kind of like that. And we got consensus from my friend Mark in the car. And then I texted Al, and he was like, yeah, I like it. Let's go. Let's do it. And it was better. It was an improvement over the last band name. So yeah. So I'm sorry that our band name is in reference to a band that you think sucks.
You despise.
But it's okay. I respect.
No, listen, I love Spanish love songs, and Hold Steady just doesn't do it for me. So
that's fine. I totally appreciate that.
Like, and the problem is, like, I was excited. I went to see John K. Sampson, and
awesome. Love him.
He was just opening for the Hold Steady at City Winery, and I was like, I'm excited to see what the Hold Steady sounds like live. Long story short, I left early.
Okay. Hey.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, this is the best part about music. We can disagree, but it's still there to listen to.
But you know what we can't agree on? How awesome John K. Sampson is.
Absolutely.
The best.
Absolutely amazing.
It was very fun being like a primarily like hardcore like punk rock listener, and then you'd go on a date in your 20s and you'd be like, let's listen to some John K. Sampson or something
John K. Sampson really saved a lot of us.
Yeah,
some Matt Pryor acoustic stuff or something.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, this is relaxed. I don't know.
Yes, dear. He did just write a song about a baseball fantasy draft. Yes, he did do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it sounds.
That's what he's singing about. Yeah, but it sounds gorgeous. So
yeah, the words don't mean anything to me. Why do you like this guy? Shh, listen. Shh, take it in. He also played in Propaganda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whisper that to her.
Yeah.
So Al, what's your answer to
what you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I like the Hold Steady? Yeah, I like the Hold Steady.
No. What's your band that never lets you down that you turn to for music?
My answer is forever is Wilhelm Scream. Wilhelm Scream is I love shreddy fast music so much, and I love big melodies, and that band is both of those things. I mean, they are. I've been listening to that band since I was 14 years old or whatever. Like I saw them when they were smacking Isaiah, and carried through for the rest of my life. That like, it's, there's a million other things that I listen to, but it's like, if you went into my music for, like Spotify and looked at how many hours I've listened to that band alone, it's like, it's got to be embarrassing. They're just like, they fit me in the absolute right way every time. I want to get pumped. They're the band for it. I like want to forget about a bad day. They're the band for it. I want to hang out with my buds. They're a band for, like, they fill the niche for so many. And then if I'm just like sitting playing
a song for every season.
Yeah, the shreddiest, like, fastest song for every season. Truly.
Like get you ramped. Like I remember, and so this is not a put on. Like, it's not like, oh yeah, we recorded with Trevor and we're like, now we're the big. So
yeah, I was going to say, are you just trying to sell recording with Trevor?
Not at all. No, like no, literally, like
I wish Trevor wasn't as cool as he is. Like that. It's a bummer. It's a bummer meeting someone from a band that is like your very favorite band, and they're actually nice. Like, they're not supposed to be that. They're supposed to be. You're never supposed to be your heroes. But
it like couldn't be. Yeah, any weirder to be like, oh wow, you're just a regular guy. But yeah. Band rules. I remember like running all the time, listening to them. Like I run like never, but like we would legitimately, Al and I would be like if if we could have sounded more like Wilhelm Scream earlier, as Great Lakes would have,
yeah,
we're just not good enough at as being musicians. So we you know, we're like, all right, well, we'll just, you know, play.
We figured out our
hot water music speed. Yeah.
Truly, it's they've left a massive impression on me throughout my life, and like they're just the band I always listen to.
Yeah. I was actually, this is not for you, Shane, but for Al. I was actually trying to find like a picture. So remember, we went to see the Descendants. And
you guys have your own conversation on my show. Go ahead.
Yeah. No,
hold on.
No,
hey, Shane.
Jay, can you log off real quick?
Do you want to grab like a snack?
You can hang out, but you don't. Yeah, just don't say anything.
Do you want to grab me a beer?
Doyle, finish your story.
We went to see the Descendants play in Burlington, Vermont, and so a group of friends went up, and I was like, oh, to my wife before we recorded, I'm like, remember that trip we went on to Burlington where you saw 3 bands that you were not at all interested in? This is the guy we recorded with. So I was like pointing out a picture of Trevor, like a blurry ass picture of Trevor from like 2017 or 18 or something. But yeah, we've always been huge fans of them.
No, that's all, and it's awesome that you got, you know, the opportunity to record with them. So
yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, I would say yeah. It was great, and it was very, like, truthfully, my initial thought was, why is he gonna, like, like, I think this was probably fall last year, and we were trying to figure out who we could book time to record with, and Tom C., who is not in the band yet, suggested, he's like, oh, I don't know, like, you know, Trevor's recording bands now and he's home from tour. So I was like, all right, I'll just send him an email. I think I just like sent a form submission on his website, and he got back to me and was like, yeah, that'd be cool. Let's do this in January or whatever. So it was in, you know, just the most normal dude ever. So you should totally have him on this. He'd probably be stoked to do it and have a bunch of way better stories than us. So.
So I want to find out, with the music that you guys have created, your self-titled EP, which came out a couple weeks ago, if you had to pick one song to play for somebody that you currently have recorded that someone can listen to, that would best describe what Massive Nightmares is right now and is wanting to be, what song would you choose to play for that person? You can only pick one. So Al, I'd like you to go first, and then Myke, please don't just agree with him. If you do have a different one, you're allowed to say.
Even if he picks the same song I was going to pick, I'm going to pick a different one for somebody.
Yeah. I think Silent Secretary.
Hidden behind your terrifying crucifix. Bittersweet memories come flooding back, washing over me. Engagements and broken bones. Birth announcements and brothers that you'll never know. All these heart attacks. a car crash. All this right history. My name's written there, brought me to my knees. Myke and Steven, James and Jeffrey. Ashes to ashes. We all fall apart. I'm blown away. You're breaking your own heart. Week to week, black and white, too close to see.
Terry.
Oh,
Problem.
Holy shit.
I know. So
I have it
think
written
that-
here as the song that I've played for everybody. So I've played
That's
that
the song I
first.
think
Yeah.
I think does a good job at kind of showcasing a lot of things. You know, like it certainly is the most expansive of the songs in a certain way. Like we threw a lot out there. Like Pat truly is like a wizard when he's like coming up with these songs. Like Pat mostly wrote all of Silent Secretary and its structure and kind of chords, and like we worked on it for a really long time, and it truly came out really cool. And before we got into the studio, it was in a place that I thought this song can't get cooler. Like this is exactly the type of vibe I want for this band. This is exactly, every layer feels perfect. And then we brought it to Trevor and worked with him on adding more vocal layers and more guitar work, and it came out to be pretty special, I think. And it really,
Yeah.
Pat's vocal sounds like just amazing.
Yeah.
It builds to a cool ending. It's got a lot to it that I really love, and like I think that's the other stuff.
Has
A lot of other songs.
something for everybody, you know? It really does.
Yeah,
Like
truly
it's a
something
great
for
song.
everybody. You could show your grandma.
I mean-
you could show your nana a little bit of it if she wants.
Yeah.
Not too much though. Not that she got
Yeah.
scared at certain parts, but no, that's the one. Doyle, what would you say?
Yeah. So
You can't agree with me.
I
You have to say-
so I'm going to say a different song. So what's funny is that like we all agree that Back to the Beach should be the single, but I think Silent Secretary would have been like, is probably my like number one, but like a tie, an A1 or 1A and 1B would be Worth It. Worth It was like the first song I think we wrote as a band. So like me and Al, this is like the first song that I think you and me and Pat were jamming on that, you know, we felt like was a complete song, was a really awesome song. And the three of us worked, like all contributed to creating this song. So to me, like,
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite songs, even though it's literally the oldest song that we have, but I love it.
It's awesome. Yeah, I have Silent Secretary was my song like that, and that's why I always like to hear if like what I wrote down prior to
That's
the
funny.
interview is if it's going to pop up, because there's certain things, and like that's why when I ask that question, it's like, what describes you and what sound are you going for? And usually the song that I pick is the one that has basically a little bit of everything from the other songs that I heard. So it's
Yeah.
like, hey, this kind of encompasses the entirety of what they're doing.
That's a really cool way of thinking about that question. Like I would not have thought about that, but that's a really cool way of kind of thinking about what's the song that you would play. Yeah, I think I'm happy. I'm really happy with the record. And like, I think that honestly, the fact that people listen to, 4 songs in and we're like, hey, I really like this song. I think that means everything. So, Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, hey, listen, that's what I'm here for. I wouldn't have you here if I didn't like your music. It's just that's the way it goes. I'm the gatekeeper of my own house, so. But no, listen, I love what I heard, and that's, again, I go back and I listen at least 5 times to something. Like that's my rule of thumb. It's 5 times, 5 different ways, and figure out if it doesn't hit me within those 5 times, then that means I need to put it aside and either maybe never go back to it or come back to it way later because maybe I'm not ready for it. So, but I got you guys on first listen, so I was in.
Wow.
You don't even need to listen any more times. You can just listen to it once.
What are the 4 other ways that you could listen to something? What are the 5 ways?
So I do. So one is I'll throw earbuds in and mow the lawn. Another is blasting it in my car while I'm driving. Another one is just sitting down, focusing on the music and playing the record in my own safe space of my studio and just listening to it. And another way is to play it in my store and just have it on and feel it while I'm doing something else and not fully invested in the music. So
that's my favorite way of figuring out if I like a record, of just like putting it on and being like, I wonder if this just can be in the background of my life for like a day or like a moment.
Yeah.
And I feel like that always like solidifies it for me. That's cool.
I love that. Yeah. I'm trying to do that with the new Cursive record that just came out, which I think the last few Cursive records I would say are all really good, but I think
Devour's amazing.
Yeah. I listen, I've given it. I'm on listen. I've listened to it twice. I just got the vinyl. Incredible band.
100 times better live too. Like I tell people, if you like their music recorded, I'm like, you have to see them live, because once you see them live, because I always have like a barometer. My wife isn't a big fan when I put Cursive on, but we went to a show, Cursive opened, and she was like, who is this band? I'm like, this is Cursive, the band that you said you didn't like. She's like, well, they're fucking amazing. I'm like, I know, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
It's like a big leap from like very produced. Oh, go on, Doyle.
No, I mean, so it's like, this has been a band that I've loved from like their earliest stuff. And I love all of Tim Casher's stuff, or whatever, however he pronounces his name. But,
Casher.
But yeah, Casher. But funny enough that so Al's married to a person who I knew in high school. And this was also one of the ways that we met in high school is like listening to Cursive. So funny connection to Al Heinz is that he married somebody. But we all went and saw them, I think, open for, who was it, last year? We went and saw them. We saw them over
Thursday.
Yeah, they opened.
Yeah.
Was that the same run of Jeremy Innick, Appleseed Cast, Cursive, and Thursday?
No, this was like the B City tour. That was Thursday. Cursive. What's the dude? He's a guy. He sings.
Nate Bergman. Anthony Green.
Anthony Green.
Anthony Green.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else was on it.
Yeah.
But we saw it at a very Trumpy, bar in Hampton Beach, New Hampshire, and the sound was terrible, and the place was awful. But it was fun. We had a blast. But it was like the worst circumstances to see a band that you really like, and a band that is really, really, really good live, that just had that was the worst Cursive sound I've ever
it was very funny because I want to say Tom C and Matt Murphy saw them like 2 nights before, the night before in Providence, and Tom C, our bass player, has the absolute best ear for music. Is like so good at being able to say like that was really good, this is not great. And he was like, honestly, that Cursive / Thursday show was like one of the best sounding shows. And so I got super excited, and I don't think I even had a ticket. I'm like, fuck it. It was the shittiest weather. I remember it was like a hurricane that was like, it was like the rainiest, coldest day. Yeah. And I drove an hour and 15 minutes to meet up with you at this like cowboy bar in Hampton Beach. Where like the waitresses or bartenders were like, it was like what is like a redneck Hooters called? I don't know what it is, but like that's what this place was
It's
like.
called Hooters.
Twin
Yeah.
Peaks.
It's called Hooters.
Yeah, it was Cursive was playing this Hooters, and we were like hoping for the same experience our friend had, and it was still awesome to see Cursive. They still sound great, but like not the best quality sound.
Yeah, no, circumstances, permitting, they are like just amazing lives.
Oh yeah, and I'm going to the fest. I'm going to the fest this year, and like,
nice.
I feel like they're not a band that people are excited to see at fest, but I'm 100% going to see them. I remember seeing Tim play in like his Tim Kasher band, and this was maybe 7 years ago. And me and Christine from Save Ends were watching him play, and he was just having like the craziest meltdown on stage, and was like literally crawling underneath the stage in front of like a crowd of 13 people. And it was maybe one of the top 5 shows of my entire life. It was unbelievable. So
nice. All right. World's going to end in 5 minutes, and you have to listen to one song and only one song. What song are you listening to, Al?
Werewolves of London.
All right. Myke.
What's that NoFX song? Like Honey, We're Going Down, or like. So here's the thing about me. I don't know the names of songs or like the names of things. I was originally going to say The Decline, but The Decline is so much longer than that. So I will also say Werewolves of London.
You jokey joke makers. Okay.
I'm sorry.
I was joking.
No, I know you're not joking. Maybe Say It Ain't So. I don't know why, but like Say It Ain't So is one of my favorite songs. I probably listen to that song more than almost any other song.
What's that like? The Factory song from Looney Tunes, like the bum 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 banana. If I could hear that over and over again for 5 minutes, I think that's a good.
Also, so growing up, I was a huge fan of Queen. So I somehow got very into Queen. So I could imagine listening to, Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody, or at least,
Queen interviews.
I could listen to the podcast.
Just like 5 minutes
podcast with people. Interview. Yeah, I could probably do that. Yeah.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
All right. So one more question before we start to wrap up this awesome night we got going on. But what piece of, let's say, it has to be music related, but your house is on fire. You got to grab one thing music related, whether it's music memorabilia or something very important to you musically. What's the one thing that you saved from that fire?
My 9 guitars. No, I've got I think my truly and honestly my Stratocaster. I have like a Fender Stratocaster that I adore. I never thought I would play Stratocasters, I guess, until like fairly recently, and that became a guitar in my life. I know it's a weird thing, but it's
not a weird thing, and that's like that's why I ask. I love to hear because there are a lot of artists have a lot of guitars or a lot of basses, and it's like it's like honing down. Like you can only grab that one thing. What are you making sure you get?
It's my most playable one. That's basically it, because I can't really go anywhere without a guitar nearby. So I got to grab the one that's probably the most play, and that's probably that or one of the Great Lakes records that we got pressed in Europe, which were the coolest. Truly, we got these amazing records made when we went to Europe, and they were pressed there. They hand cut this like real cool
piece of wood that they screened on. Yeah,
it ruled.
They basically did an entire new cover art without even asking anything from us, and it's the most incredible thing. And they did it all on their own.
It's a beautiful piece
Coffee,
of
Breath,
art.
and Heartache. Awesome.
Yeah,
great record label.
It's the most gorgeous thing ever. There's like 400 copies of in existence, and I have like 299 of them. But I would take one of them because it's truly a beautiful. Like I look at it every day.
That's awesome.
So now it's my turn.
It is your turn.
I would say, so I probably would have also said, I think we all of the records that first of all, it was like, couldn't believe it when we did a record, and I was like, oh, this is incredible. So I would want to keep one or two just to say, no, really, I did this in the future to any future children I have. But I would also say I have a like a picture book. So like actual photographs that were taken from one of like our shows in 2001 or 2000 or 1990, like sometime in that period. And like, they're pictures that I probably should just like scan digitally and save them in the cloud. But today, if the house caught on fire, I'd probably grab that on top of maybe a record or something. But yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, fellas, before we go into our final segment, I'd love to give you an opportunity to tell everybody how to get your new Massive Nightmare stuff, or maybe even some of your old stuff if you want. But throw out all your handles and stuff so people can follow you and find out what you guys are doing.
So we have an Instagram and a Bandcamp, and Al's wearing like a wetsuit at the moment, so that's why he sounds like he's breathing through a mask. But we have a Bandcamp, and I think it's just Massive Nightmares for both Instagram and Bandcamp. Spotify, Massive Nightmares, we're on there, and all the other streaming sites as well. But yeah, we have some stuff for sale if you guys want to take a look. Al needs to just upload it to the old Bandcamp. So, but that's where you can find us. And if you want to, we also, I think, Massive Nightmares at Gmail. If you want to just just be email friends, we can just talk over email and share emails back and forth. I don't just love email professionally. I love it personally. It's really great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're going into our final segment. It is our weekly 3 segment. It's 3 things you're listening to that you would like people to check out. You give your 3, then I give my 3. And since there's 2 of you, you each get 3.
Holy shit.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I didn't for this.
So one thing I'll say I'll listen to, there's a band called The Pomps. I know that they're just recording a new record. But they have been a really awesome Boston area band for a long time. They put out a record last year called Bottom of the Pomps, and it's really one of my favorite records. They're in like the ska genre.
It's like Squeeze, if Squeeze was a ska band. Yes. It's great.
Yeah, no, seriously. It's when people come over, I'm like, hey, listen to this band. They're really good.
Nice.
Yeah. Al, you go.
Okay, that was 1, Doyle. Do we gotta do? You gotta do
I have
2
to do
more.
fucking 3 more. I
3,
thought we were going back to
3,
4.
buddy. No,
3 in total.
All right.
Total.
So there's a band from Brooklyn called Sadlands that I love. They're people we know. Some people we know. Some people that we met at some point. But they're a newish band. They're punk and female vocals, and they're fucking incredible. So I would say them. I would also say one thing that I've been listening to. So, all right, this is going to sound cheesy, and I know it's been a fucking joke lately, but I legitimately have been listening to Chaperone. So like,
it's good.
I didn't get it. I didn't get it. And I wish I could say like some really cool punk band that only a few people have heard of that become like the best band. So I will say that Chaperone, I did make my wife listen to Mariachi El Bronx the other day, just to like see what she thought, and I had the best time and she didn't. So that's all.
All right. Awesome. Good 3. Your turn now.
That is a good 3. I would say I listen to the Leisure Boys a lot. There's a band from our way called the Leisure Boys. They're on Bandcamp. I think there's a couple Leisure Boys. I don't know what the name of. I think their EP is just self-titled. It has a song called Sea Glass on it. Is it not so? What is it? What is the EP called, Doyle? Do you know?
It's not. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to remember exactly.
It's got a name to it. But either way,
yeah, you tell me.
Sea Glass is very, very good. It's an amazing song. It's a really great band from this area that kind of in a similar way. Like I don't really even know what to say. They sound like they're kind of punk, but this sort of sounds like the Silver Sun pickups in like a punky way. Sometimes, like it's cool. There's a lot of cool vibiness to it. So that is something I would say definitely check out. I'm very obsessed with Julian Lage, who's like a kind of jazz guitar player, who's got a ton of great records out there. Really, like he's really phenomenal. But he's got this record ArcLight that came out, I think it's like 2016. That is just it's sick, start to finish. It's a really like amazing record, and the musicianship on it is incredible. And there's a great live version of the album that's out there too. So that's something I would say anyone check out, because that rips really hard. And then a third one is difficult. I will do not music related, but the Blowback podcast. I don't know if anyone's ever listened to, but it's a good podcast series that they're in their 4th season right now, and it's about Cambodia and basically kind of the Vietnam War, but through the lens of what was going on in Cambodia, kind of pre, during, and post. And so all those episodes are out right now, and I've been kind of tearing through those, and there was really phenomenal interviews and some cool, some really awful information to learn and cool characters to get into. So those are my 3.
And on that note, the name of the Leisure Boys record is called About Time, and it's a great record.
About Time. It's so good. Yes. Yeah.
Our friend Erica Bell did the artwork for our record and theirs, and she's a wonderful designer and friend.
Awesome.
I'm now curious what you have, Shane.
So I have my 3. First off, I love that you're getting your learn on, Al. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
About a subject. That's
I'm trying.
Yeah, that's great. All right. So my 3 for this week, music-wise, are there's a band called Cave Moss. They're from Finland. They're kind of shoegazy. They have an EP called Loose Tunes out that's definitely worth checking out.
That's a really cool band name, Cave Moss.
Yeah, that sounds like a band from Finland.
Yeah.
That's like a name.
Next is a band called Cara Cara, Cara. They're indie-ish rock out of Philadelphia. They have an album called New Preoccupations that is really awesome.
That's awesome.
And last but not least is a band called Mildura, Mildura. They have an EP called June and July, and it's emo-ish music from California, but really awesome sounding. So I highly recommend it. Those are my 3 things I've been jamming on this week.
That's amazing. I wrote them all down. And I will listen to them tomorrow.
Awesome. Well,
I'll email you what I think. I love talking about it. Oh no!
Oh, there it goes. Well,
that's it.
Couldn't happen at a better time. But before we ended here, first I want to say, Alan, Myke, thank you so much for coming on the show. And secondly, I want to say thank you so much for creating the music that brought us together, because without it, I wouldn't be able to have an awesome conversation with 2 strangers I've never met and have a great time and talk about music and have fun. So, that's the most important thing is the music that brought us together. And I love it. I know other people are going to love it once we get this out to the masses, and you guys just keep doing what you're doing, keep writing the tunes that you're writing, and you keep creating, and we keep listening. So just don't ever stop.
Means more than you would ever know to be invited on a podcast to just talk about music and records. And you have a record store in New Jersey, correct?
I do.
Yeah. So I very much would love to spin by your store. So if I'm ever in that area, which there's a good chance I will be, I will let you know.
Awesome. Love to meet you.
Awesome.
But again, thank you guys so much for being here, and everyone out there in the world that's listening to us. You know what time it is now. It's time to go out, listen to Massive Nightmares, and have a great fucking time.
Coast
Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band, and don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.